Hey guys, welcome to We'll Make It Work. Behind me, we have an Audi B7 A4, and today we're going to be doing the cold air intake from ECS Tuning called the Luft-Technik cold air intake. Let's get right into it. For step one, you're going to want to grab your firewall. You're going to know it's the firewall because it's a black piece of metal. It's nice branded ECS in red, and there's two layers to it, hence the name firewall. Blocks heat. Once you've located your firewall, the first two things you're going to need are some OEM rubber grommets that are located in your car's engine bay underneath your stock intake. All right, guys, as I mentioned, you're going to need some rubber grommets. Now, you're going to have to take out your stock intake. There are videos on that online. Pretty easy to do regardless. Once the stock intake's done, there are these two rubber grommets. Now, if you pull out your intake, sometimes they sit on the intake. Usually they'll stay in here, though. So what I did is I grabbed some channel lock pliers and I kind of just ripped them out. They basically just go in here and in here. You're going to want to take those and then bring them back to your firewall because those are going to go in the bottom. So now that you have your rubber grommets, you're going to come back to wherever your firewall is. And for me, it's the garage. And basically, you're going to want to take this little black bolt. Again, I snapped the threads off, and two of these small chrome washers, which are the only two in your kit, I believe, and then two of these small chrome nuts. There are a few of those in your kit as well, but we're only going to need two for this step. You're going to want to have your black bolt washer and then your nut. Tighten that down so it's nice and secure, not going anywhere. The next step, you're going to want to take this rubber grommet you pulled out of your car from your stock intake. These are not included in the kit. I took the same channel lock pliers I used to get them out of my car, and I took the end of one of these grommets. I just pushed it right onto the end. It's kind of hard. You might need to fuck with it if you're not as strong, but they slide right on, and basically you're going to repeat that step for both of these so that you have pretty secure rubber grommets on the bottom of it, and it kind of should look like this. Now that you've finished installing your rubber grommet bolts onto the bottom of your firewall and have the rubber grommets on those bolts ready to go, you're going to want to bring your firewall back to your car and line up the rubber grommets into their original holes. Just a quick tip. I was having some trouble getting these grommets back in on the bottom here of the firewall. So what I did was I grabbed the size of the nut that I used to tighten it down, which you guys should have the same thing. It's a 10 millimeter. So I used a long 10 millimeter with an extension on the top, and I grabbed a mallet. And so what I did was I kind of just kept hitting it until it sunk itself into its original hole. I still have to do the other one, as you can see, but I'm going to do the exact same setup on the other side, and I'll come back with an update. The next thing you're going to want to do is grab your MAF housing, which is this guy right here, and slide that through the side of your firewall. Before we continue the video, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up and say be really careful when you're handling these bolts and nuts. Very easy to drop, and as with anything with this Audi, it's very easy to kind of drop and just disappear in here. I'm going to go ahead and put the hardware needed on the screen. It's also important to mention that you have to make sure that the MAF sensor housing is facing the right way. There is a directional arrow on the back there that shows which way the air is going to go. The arrow should be pointing from your filter into your turbo because that's the way the air is going. Once you get your housing mounted onto the firewall, you're going to want to attach the hose first to up here. I find this easier. I'm going to go ahead and hose clamp this so it doesn't move and then fit it to the turbo afterwards. Now you're going to want to get your air scoop, which is this piece here, and your two M6 clip nuts. You're going to slide these on facing this way. Just slide those onto those two tabs. We started with this one. The next thing I had to do was kind of get these two aligned, this one and this one. I did that by just pushing this down because it was kind of annoying. Yeah, so I sent those in, and then this one was next. In order to get this one, I had to push this backwards and line up the hole there. It was pretty difficult, but once the screw was in, it lined this one up more. And then at the very end, this one I had to kind of move the clip nut there. Trying to get it to focus, maybe. Yeah, I had to move the clip nut, so it's actually bent a little bit, but as you can see, it's not totally flat. I guess it is totally flat, but yeah, so it was a pain in the ass, but it's doable. The only other thing they recommend on the website is to make sure that the crankcase housing here has a little gap in between by the air scoop right there. All right, guys, we're getting near the end of the installation now. One of the last things you got to do here is slide that intake filter on right over the MAF housing, and then take your last hose clamp, this should be a 7mm, and kind of just attach it. And I'll come back once this is tightened. And finally, the last step of this hellish install is to get this rubber seals put on. It's pretty easy. You just kind of push it down onto this metal edge, but make sure you push down hard enough. Sometimes it feels like it's all the way, but you got to make sure it actually drops down enough. And then once you're done with that, you just kind of cut it right here at the edge of the metal, and you're done. All right, guys. If this video helped you out with the ECS tuning Luft-Technik cold air intake, please consider liking and subscribing. It's going to help me out in the long run, and I plan on producing more and more videos of the B7 A4, just like this one, very in-depth and easy to follow. So yeah, please consider hitting subscribe, and I'll see you next time.